Chapter 1 The Halloween party. The last chapter had left them on the brink of excitement, the air thick with anticipation as the sun dipped below the horizon. Brad had just revealed his plans to surprise his friends with a costume that would make heads turn, while Paige, Mary-Kate, Ashley, and Caitlin were buzzing with ideas, their laughter echoing in the crisp autumn air. The town was alive with the spirit of Halloween, and the community center was set to be the epicenter of their youthful revelry. The small suburban town of Maplewood was a canvas painted in shades of orange and red, the leaves swirling down like confetti in the brisk October breeze. The scent of cinnamon and pumpkin wafted through the air, mingling with the earthy aroma of fallen leaves. Children darted past, their laughter ringing like chimes, while porch lights flickered on, illuminating the decorations of ghosts and goblins that adorned every house. It was the perfect backdrop for the annual Halloween party at the community center, a tradition that brought the town together in a celebration of all things spooky and fun. Inside the community center, the atmosphere was electric. Strings of orange and purple lights hung from the ceiling, casting a warm glow over the room. Tables were laden with treats: candy corn, caramel apples, and pumpkin-shaped cookies, while a playlist of haunting melodies filled the air, setting the stage for a night of mischief and memories. Brad stood in front of the mirror in his bedroom, adjusting the collar of his costume. He had decided to go as a vampire, but not just any vampire. He was determined to be the most dashing one the party had ever seen. The black cape billowed behind him, and he slicked back his hair, trying to channel the brooding charm of a classic horror film. He wanted to impress the girls, especially Paige, whose laughter had a way of making his heart race. "Are you ready yet?" his younger sister, Lily, called from the hallway, her voice laced with impatience. "You're going to miss the best part if you keep staring at yourself." "Just a minute," he replied, his voice tinged with a mix of excitement and nerves. He took one last look in the mirror, practicing his best smoldering gaze. Tonight was about more than just costumes. It was about stepping out of his comfort zone and showing his friends a side of him they hadn't seen before. Meanwhile, in a nearby house, Paige, Mary-Kate, Ashley, and Caitlin were huddled in Paige's room, surrounded by a whirlwind of fabric and accessories. The girls had decided to embrace the playful spirit of Halloween, opting for costumes that were both fun and flirty. Paige, with her long auburn hair cascading down her shoulders, had chosen a witch costume, complete with a pointed hat and a short black skirt that twirled as she moved. "I can't believe we're actually doing this," Mary-Kate said, adjusting her cat ears and striking a pose in front of the mirror. "We're going to be the cutest girls at the party." Ashley, dressed as a fairy with shimmering wings, rolled her eyes playfully. "As long as we don't trip over our own skirts while trying to dance, I think we'll be fine." Caitlin, who had opted for a classic vampire look, smirked as she applied dark lipstick. "I just hope Brad doesn't embarrass himself. He's been talking about his costume for weeks." Paige felt a flutter of nerves at the mention of Brad. She had always thought of him as just a friend, but lately, there had been moments, glances that lingered a little too long, laughter that felt charged with something more. She brushed the thought aside, focusing instead on the excitement of the night ahead. "He'll be fine. Besides, it is all in good fun." As they finished getting ready, the girls shared stories of past Halloween parties, their laughter filling the room. Each memory was a thread woven into the fabric of their friendship, a tapestry of shared experiences that made them feel invincible. But beneath the surface, a current of tension simmered, unspoken feelings and hidden desires waiting to surface. When they finally arrived at the community center, the energy was palpable. The parking lot was filled with cars, and the sound of music and laughter spilled out into the night. Brad stood near the entrance, his heart racing as he spotted the girls approaching. He felt a rush of adrenaline as he took in their costumes, each one more stunning than the last. "Wow, you all look amazing," he exclaimed, trying to mask his nerves with a confident smile. Paige's cheeks flushed slightly as she met his gaze. "Thanks. You look pretty good yourself, Dracula." Brad grinned, his confidence bolstered by her compliment. "I aim to impress." As they entered the community center, the atmosphere enveloped them like a warm hug. The dance floor was alive with swirling bodies, and the scent of popcorn and candy hung in the air. The girls immediately gravitated toward the snack table, their eyes wide with delight as they filled their plates with treats. "Let's get some pictures," Ashley suggested, pulling out her phone. The girls gathered together, striking playful poses, their laughter ringing out like music. Brad watched from a distance, a mix of admiration and longing swelling in his chest. He wanted to join them, to be part of their carefree joy, but a part of him hesitated. "Hey, Brad," Caitlin called, waving him over. "Come take a picture with us." He hesitated for a moment, then made his way over, his heart pounding. As he stood beside the girls, he felt a rush of warmth, their energy infectious. They snapped a few photos, the flash capturing their smiles and the spirit of the night. "Okay, now let's do a spooky one," Mary-Kate suggested, her eyes sparkling with mischief. They all leaned in, making exaggerated scary faces, and Brad couldn't help but laugh. "Perfect," Ashley said, scrolling through the photos. "These are going to be legendary." As the night wore on, the group danced and mingled, the music pulsing through their veins. Brad found himself gravitating toward Paige, their laughter intertwining as they shared stories and playful banter. The chemistry between them was undeniable, a magnetic pull that drew them closer with each passing moment. "Do you remember that time we went trick-or-treating and you dressed as a giant pumpkin?" Paige teased, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Brad chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck sheepishly. "I was a very convincing pumpkin, thank you very much." "Convincing. You were the most ridiculous pumpkin I've ever seen." She laughed, nudging him playfully. Their laughter faded into a comfortable silence, the air thick with unspoken words. Brad's heart raced as he caught her gaze, the world around them fading away. He could feel the tension building, a moment hanging delicately in the air, waiting to be acknowledged. "Hey, can I tell you something?" he finally said, his voice low and earnest. Paige's breath hitched slightly. Chapter 2 Costume Chaos. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the small suburban town, where the air was thick with the scent of fallen leaves and the promise of Halloween. In the previous chapter, we met a lively group of friends. Brad, Paige, Mary-Kate, Ashley, and Caitlin, who were buzzing with excitement as they prepared for the annual Halloween party at the local community center. Each girl had chosen a costume that embraced the playful spirit of the holiday, while Brad was determined to impress them with a costume that would make him stand out. But as the days ticked down to the party, the pressure mounted, and the stakes grew higher. As the clock struck noon on a crisp Saturday, the girls gathered at Paige's house, their laughter echoing through the cozy living room. The air was filled with the scent of pumpkin spice candles, and the walls were adorned with hastily hung decorations, paper bats and cobwebs that fluttered slightly in the draft from the open window. But beneath the surface of their excitement lay an undercurrent of anxiety. "Okay, ladies," Paige declared, her hands on her hips as she surveyed the chaos of clothes strewn across the floor. "We need to figure this out. The party is in 2 days, and I still don't have a costume." Mary-Kate, perched on the edge of the couch, flipped through a fashion magazine, her brow furrowed. "I thought we agreed on the whole sexy witch theme. I mean, it is classic, right?" Ashley, rummaging through a pile of clothes, chimed in, "Yeah, but I don't want to look like every other girl there. We need something that pops." Caitlin, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke up, her voice laced with a hint of mischief. "What if we go for a group costume? Like the Sanderson sisters from Hocus Pocus? We could totally pull it off." The idea hung in the air, and the girls exchanged glances, their eyes lighting up with excitement. "That could work," Paige exclaimed, her earlier frustration melting away. "But we need to hit the stores now." With a flurry of agreement, the girls grabbed their jackets and headed out, the chill of the autumn air invigorating them as they piled into Paige's car. The drive to the nearest mall was filled with chatter about accessories and makeup, each girl envisioning how they would transform into their witchy alter egos. Meanwhile, Brad was at the local costume store, a place that smelled of musty fabric and cheap plastic. He stood in front of a mirror, adjusting a ridiculous pirate hat that was far too large for his head. "This is not happening," he muttered to himself, pulling the hat off and tossing it onto a nearby rack. He had tried on a series of costumes, everything from a vampire to a zombie, but nothing felt right. He wanted to impress the girls, especially Paige, whose laughter echoed in his mind like a siren's call. "What would they think is cool?" he pondered aloud, his reflection staring back at him with a mix of frustration and determination. As he wandered deeper into the store, he stumbled upon a section labeled Unique Costumes. His heart raced with hope. Perhaps here he would find something that would make him stand out. He sifted through the racks, his fingers brushing against a variety of fabrics, some soft, some scratchy, all promising a transformation. "Hey, dude, you need help." A voice broke through his concentration. Brad turned to find a store employee, a tall guy with a wild mane of hair and a friendly grin. "Yeah, I'm trying to find something that'll wow my friends," Brad admitted, feeling a bit sheepish. "But I'm not sure what that is." The employee's eyes sparkled with mischief. "How about a giant hot dog costume? Nothing says, 'I'm fun,' like a walking frankfurter." Brad chuckled, shaking his head. "I think I'll pass on that one. I'm looking for something a bit more impressive." "Got it. How about this?" The employee pulled out a shimmering silver cape and a mask that looked like it belonged to a superhero. "You could be a space ranger. It's flashy, and you'll definitely stand out." Brad took the cape, holding it up to his shoulders. "I don't know, trust me, man. You'll be the talk of the party. Plus, you can always add your own twist to it. Maybe some cool face paint." As Brad considered the idea, he felt a flicker of excitement. "Okay, I'll give it a shot." With the cape draped over his arm, he made his way to the fitting room, his heart racing with the thrill of possibility. But as he stepped inside, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was still missing something essential, something that would truly capture the attention of the girls. Back at the mall, the girls were in full shopping mode, darting from store to store, their laughter ringing out like music. They finally settled on a boutique that had a selection of costumes that were both stylish and a little edgy. "Look at this!" Mary-Kate exclaimed, holding up a black lace dress that hugged her curves perfectly. "This is definitely witchy enough." Paige, rifling through a rack, pulled out a deep green dress with a plunging neckline. "And this? It's perfect for me. I can be the sexy witch of the group." Caitlin, who had been quiet for a moment, suddenly spoke up, her voice softer than usual. "What if we don't just look good? What if we actually do something fun at the party? Like a dance-off or a skit?" Ashley's eyes sparkled with mischief. "A skit? Like a witchy version of Mean Girls? I'm in." The girls erupted into laughter, their excitement bubbling over as they began to brainstorm ideas for their performance. But as they continued to shop, Caitlin felt a twinge of unease. She loved her friends, but there was a part of her that worried about how they would be perceived. Would they be seen as just another group of girls trying too hard? "Hey, what do you think?" Paige's voice broke through her thoughts as she twirled in front of the mirror, the green dress swirling around her. Caitlin forced a smile, but inside, she felt a knot tightening in her stomach. "It looks G-torrent, Paige. Really? Come on, you have to try something on too," Mary-Kate urged, pulling Caitlin toward the racks. "You can't be the only one not dressed up." As Caitlin reluctantly picked out a costume, a flowing black dress with a hood, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The excitement of the day felt overshadowed by an unshakable sense of doubt. Meanwhile, Brad was finally stepping out of the fitting room, the silver cape billowing behind him. He struck a pose in front of the mirror, trying to channel his inner superhero. Chapter 3. The night of the party, the air was electric with anticipation as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the small suburban town. The previous chapter had set the stage for this moment, a group of friends. Brad, Paige, Mary-Kate, Ashley, and Caitlin had spent the days leading up to Halloween in a whirlwind of costume planning and frantic shopping. Each girl had finally settled on outfits that hugged their figures, while Brad, after a series of comical mishaps, had chosen a costume that he hoped would impress. Now, as they approached the community center, the excitement was palpable, a tangible buzz that thrummed through the air. The community center had been transformed into a haunted wonderland. Cobwebs draped from the ceiling like ghostly veils, and jack-o'-lanterns flickered with mischievous grins, their candlelight casting dancing shadows across the walls. Eerie music played softly in the background, a haunting melody that mingled with the laughter and chatter of partygoers. The scent of caramel apples and popcorn wafted through the air, mingling with the crispness of the autumn night, creating an intoxicating atmosphere that promised a night of fun and mischief. As they stepped inside, the girls immediately drew attention. Paige, dressed as a sultry witch with a fitted black dress and a wide-brimmed hat, twirled her wand playfully, her laughter ringing like chimes in the night. Mary-Kate, in a flapper costume complete with a feathered headband, swayed her hips to the music, while Ashley and Caitlin, sporting matching cat costumes, flicked their tails and purred, drawing a chorus of compliments from the crowd. "Look at you all!" Brad exclaimed, his voice a mix of admiration and disbelief. "You look amazing." "Thanks, Brad," Caitlin beamed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "But you're not looking too shabby yourself." She gestured to his costume, a dapper vampire ensemble complete with a cape and fake fangs. He had hoped to channel a classic charm, but now, standing amidst the vibrant energy of the girls, he felt a twinge of self-consciousness. "Yeah, You clean up nice, Paige added, her tone teasing yet warm. Just don't bite anyone, okay? Brad chuckled, trying to shake off the nerves that had settled in his stomach. No promises, he replied, flashing a grin that he hoped masked his anxiety. He scanned the room, taking in the mix of familiar faces and newcomers, each one a potential source of both excitement and dread. The laughter and chatter swirled around him, a cacophony that both thrilled and overwhelmed him. As the night unfolded, the friends navigated through the crowd, exchanging greetings with classmates and acquaintances. The atmosphere was charged with a sense of camaraderie, but beneath the surface, Brad felt a growing tension. He watched as the girls reveled in the attention, their confidence radiating like the glow of the jack-o'-lanterns that dotted the room. It was intoxicating to see them so alive, yet he couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider, a spectator in their world. "Let's get some drinks," Ashley suggested, her voice cutting through the din. The girls nodded in agreement, and Brad followed them to the refreshment table, where a bubbling cauldron of punch awaited. As they filled their cups, Brad caught sight of a group of seniors gathered nearby, their laughter ringing out like a siren's call. Among them was Jenna, the girl he had harbored a crush on for as long as he could remember. She was dressed as a fairy, her wings shimmering under the dim lights, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. "Hey, Brad," Jenna called, her voice bright and inviting. "Nice costume." "Thanks," he replied, his heart racing. "You look magical." The words slipped out before he could stop them, and he felt his cheeks flush. Jenna laughed, a melodic sound that sent a thrill through him. "Are you going to join us for the dance later?" she asked, tilting her head slightly, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Yeah, definitely," he stammered, trying to maintain his composure. As she turned back to her friends, Brad felt a mix of exhilaration and dread. What if he made a fool of himself? What if he couldn't keep up with the energy of the night? "Brad, are you okay?" Paige's voice broke through his thoughts, and he turned to see her watching him with concern. "You look a little pale." "Yeah, I'm fine," he replied, forcing a smile. "Just taking it all in." "Don't worry, you'll be great," Mary-Kate chimed in, her enthusiasm infectious. "Just be yourself." "Easier said than done," he muttered under his breath, but the girls were already swept up in the excitement of the night, their laughter echoing in his ears. As the evening progressed, the dance floor began to fill with bodies swaying to the music, the energy in the room escalating. Brad watched as the girls joined in, their movements fluid and confident, while he lingered at the edge, feeling like a wallflower in a sea of vibrant colors. He took a deep breath, trying to summon the courage to join them, but the fear of embarrassment held him back. "Come on, Brad," Caitlin called, her voice bright and encouraging. "Dance with us." He hesitated, glancing at the swirling crowd, the lights flashing in time with the beat. "I don't know, I'm not really a dancer," he admitted, his voice barely audible over the music. "Neither are we," Ashley laughed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "But that's the point. Just let loose." With a final push from the girls, Brad found himself stepping onto the dance floor, the rhythm pulsing through him. He moved awkwardly at first, but as the music enveloped him, he began to lose himself in the moment. Laughter bubbled up inside him, and he found himself smiling, the tension in his chest easing as he joined the girls in their carefree movements. But just as he began to relax, the atmosphere shifted. A loud crash echoed through the community center, drawing everyone's attention. A group of rowdy boys had knocked over a table, sending cups and snacks flying. The laughter turned to gasps, and the music faltered for a moment as the crowd shifted uneasily. "Stay here," Paige said, her voice firm as she moved toward the commotion. Brad watched her go, a knot forming in his stomach. He could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her jaw clenched as she approached the boys, who were now laughing at their own clumsiness. "Hey, watch it," she called, her tone sharp. "You're ruining the party." One of the boys, a tall figure with a cocky grin, shrugged. "Relax, it is just a little fun," he replied, his voice dripping with arrogance. "Lighten up, witch." Chapter 4 Dancing and revelations. The night air was electric, buzzing with laughter and the distant echoes of music that spilled from the community center like a warm invitation. The transformation of the hall into a haunted wonderland had been nothing short of magical. Cobwebs draped from the ceiling, flickering jack-o'-lanterns cast playful shadows, and the scent of caramel apples mingled with the crisp autumn breeze that wafted through the open doors. Brad, Paige, Mary-Kate, Ashley, and Caitlin had arrived, their excitement palpable as they stepped into the vibrant chaos of the Halloween party. In the previous chapter, the friends had navigated the trials of costume selection, each determined to make a statement. The girls had emerged victorious from their shopping spree, clad in outfits that turned heads and sparked whispers of admiration. Brad, on the other hand, had faced a series of comical mishaps in his quest for the perfect costume, ultimately settling on a quirky ensemble that he hoped would impress Paige. Now, as the music pulsed through the air, they were ready to embrace the night. The dance floor was alive with energy, a kaleidoscope of colors and movement. Brad watched as the girls twirled and laughed, their skirts swirling around them like autumn leaves caught in a playful breeze. Caitlin and Ashley were in the center, their laughter ringing out above the music, their carefree spirits infectious. Brad felt a flutter of nerves in his stomach, a mix of excitement and anxiety as he took a step closer to the dance floor. "Come on, Brad, join us," Caitlin called, her voice bright and inviting. She was dressed as a mischievous fairy, her wings shimmering under the strobe lights. "Yeah, don't just stand there," Ashley chimed in, her witch's hat tilted jauntily to one side. "You'll regret it if you don't dance." With a deep breath, Brad stepped onto the dance floor, the rhythm of the music pulling him in. He moved awkwardly at first, but as he caught sight of Paige, her vibrant costume, a stunning take on a classic vampire, he felt a surge of confidence. She was laughing, her eyes sparkling with mischief, and he couldn't help but smile back. "Look at you, Brad," Paige teased, her voice playful as she twirled, her long cape billowing behind her. "You're really getting into it." "Just trying to keep up with you guys," he replied, his heart racing. The music swelled, and he found himself lost in the moment, the worries of the world fading away as he danced alongside his friends. As the night wore on, the dance floor became a sanctuary of joy and laughter. The girls moved with a grace that seemed effortless, their camaraderie deepening with each shared secret and playful nudge. Caitlin leaned in close to Ashley, her voice barely audible above the music. "So, have you talked to Ryan yet? You know, the guy from the soccer team." Ashley's cheeks flushed a deep shade of crimson, and she glanced around as if ensuring no one else was listening. "Not yet. I mean, I want to, but what if he doesn't like me back? What if I make a fool of myself?" Caitlin rolled her eyes, a teasing smile on her lips. "You won't make a fool of yourself. Just be yourself," He's totally into you, I can tell. Ashley bit her lip, her eyes darting toward Ryan, who was dancing with a group of friends across the room. What if he's just being nice? I don't want to ruin our friendship. Then don't think about it too much. Just go for it, Caitlin encouraged, her enthusiasm infectious. You'll never know unless you try. Meanwhile, Brad's gaze was fixed on Paige, who was dancing with abandon, her laughter ringing like music in his ears. He felt a rush of determination. Tonight was the night he would finally talk to her, to tell her how he felt. But as he made his way through the crowd, the energy of the dance floor seemed to shift. Just as he reached her, the unexpected happened. A careless jostle from a fellow party-goer sent a cup of punch flying through the air, splattering across Paige's costume. Time slowed as Brad watched the crimson liquid seep into the fabric, staining the delicate lace of her vampire dress. "Oh no," he exclaimed, his heart sinking. "Paige, I'm so sorry." Paige's eyes widened in shock, her laughter fading as she looked down at the mess. "Seriously, Brad, my costume. I didn't mean to, I swear," he stammered, panic rising in his chest. "Let me help you clean it up." She sighed, a mix of frustration and amusement dancing in her eyes. "It's okay, it is just a costume. But you owe me a drink." Brad chuckled nervously, relieved that she wasn't too upset. "I'll get you the biggest one they have." As they made their way to the refreshment table, the atmosphere shifted. The laughter and music faded into the background, leaving only the two of them in a bubble of awkward tension. Brad stole glances at Paige, her expression a mix of annoyance and something softer, something he couldn't quite place. "Really, though," she said, her tone lightening as they reached the table. "You've got to be more careful. I thought you were going to impress me tonight." "I was trying," he protested, pouring her a new drink. "I just wanted to talk to you, you know. I thought maybe we could dance together." Paige took the cup, her fingers brushing against his, sending a jolt of electricity through him. "Well, you've got my attention now. What did you want to say?" Brad's heart raced. This was it. The moment he had been waiting for. But the words caught in his throat, tangled in a web of fear and uncertainty. I just wanted to say that I think you look amazing tonight." "I mean, you always do, but..." "Thanks," she interrupted, her smile brightening. "You look pretty good yourself, Brad. That costume is unique." He chuckled, the tension easing slightly. "Yeah, unique is one way to put it. I just wanted to stand out, you know." Paige nodded, her gaze softening. "You definitely did, but I think it is more about how you carry yourself. Confidence is key." "Confidence, right." Brad took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage he had. "Paige, I've been meaning to tell you something." Before he could finish, the music shifted to a slower tempo, a haunting melody that wrapped around them like a warm embrace. The dance floor transformed, couples pairing off, swaying gently to the rhythm. Brad's heart raced as he realized this was the moment he had been waiting for. "Do you want to dance?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Paige's eyes sparkled with surprise, and she nodded, her smile widening. "I'd love to." Chapter 5. The haunted house. The night had unfolded like a dream, vibrant and alive, with laughter echoing through the community center as the Halloween party reached its peak. Brad had finally mustered the courage to approach Paige, only to have his nerves betray him in the most embarrassing way possible. As the music pulsed around them, he had clumsily spilled his drink all over her costume, a cascade of soda soaking the delicate fabric. The laughter that followed had been a mix of surprise and amusement, but beneath the playful teasing, Brad felt a pang of regret. He had wanted this night to be perfect, a chance to impress Paige, but instead, he had become the punchline of his own joke. Now, as the group stepped outside into the crisp autumn air, the excitement of the party still lingered, but it was tinged with a sense of adventure. "Let's check out that haunted house," Caitlin suggested, her eyes sparkling with mischief. The haunted attraction, a local favorite, was just a few blocks away, and the thought of exploring its dark corners sent a thrill through the group. "Are you sure? I heard it is really scary," Ashley said, her voice wavering slightly. She tugged at the hem of her witch costume, a playful ensemble that had drawn many compliments throughout the night. "Come on, Ash, it's Halloween. What's the worst that could happen?" Mary-Kate chimed in, her confidence radiating as she adjusted her cat ears. Brad, still feeling the sting of his earlier blunder, nodded eagerly. "Yeah, let's go. I could use a distraction." He shot a quick glance at Paige, who was still dabbing at her costume with a napkin, a smile playing at the corners of her lips despite the mishap. "All right, haunted house it is," Paige declared, her enthusiasm infectious. The group set off, their laughter mingling with the rustling leaves, the moonlight casting a silvery glow on the path ahead. As they approached the haunted house, the air grew thick with anticipation. The structure loomed before them, an old Victorian with peeling paint and creaking shutters. Cobwebs adorned the entrance, and a flickering lantern swung ominously in the breeze. The sign above the door read "The Haunting of Hollow Creek," and beneath it, a warning. "Enter if you dare. Looks like we're in for a treat," Brad said, trying to mask his own trepidation with bravado. "Or a trick," Caitlin added, her voice low and teasing. They stepped inside, the door creaking loudly behind them. The interior was dimly lit, with shadows dancing along the walls. A chill ran down Brad's spine as he took in the decor. Fake cobwebs, eerie portraits with eyes that seemed to follow them, and the faint sound of ghostly wails echoing through the halls. "Welcome, brave souls," a voice boomed from the shadows, startling them. A figure in a tattered cloak emerged, grinning wickedly. "Prepare to be terrified. Nice costume." Mary-Kate laughed, her voice ringing out in the darkness. The figure bowed dramatically, and as they moved deeper into the house, the atmosphere shifted. The first room was filled with jump scares, animatronic ghouls that lunged from the corners, and hidden speakers that emitted blood-curdling screams. The group shrieked and laughed, their fear quickly turning into exhilaration. "Did you see that?" Ashley gasped, clutching Caitlin's arm as a skeleton dropped from the ceiling. "I almost died. More like you almost crushed my arm." Caitlin shot back, her laughter bubbling over. As they navigated through the maze of rooms, Brad felt a sense of camaraderie building among them. The haunted house was a perfect backdrop for their shared fears and laughter, and he found himself stealing glances at Paige, who was clearly enjoying the thrill. "Hey, do you want to stick together?" he asked her, his voice barely above a whisper as they entered a particularly dark corridor. "Sure," she replied, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Just don't spill anything on me this time." Brad chuckled, the tension easing between them. "I'll do my best." They continued through the house, encountering more jump scares and spooky surprises. In one room, a fog machine filled the air with a thick mist, and in another, a witch's cauldron bubbled ominously. The laughter echoed through the halls, but as they reached the end of the corridor, the atmosphere shifted once again. "Wait, what's that?" Caitlin pointed to a door slightly ajar at the end of the hallway. A flickering light seeped through the crack, casting eerie shadows on the walls. "Should we check it out?" Brad asked, a mix of curiosity and caution in his voice. "Definitely," Paige said, her adventurous spirit shining through. They approached the door, the creaking hinges protesting as they pushed it open. Inside, the room was dimly lit, revealing dusty shelves lined with old books and artifacts. A large, ornate mirror hung on the wall, its surface clouded with age. "What is this place?" Ashley whispered, stepping inside cautiously. "I think it is some kind of storage room," Mary-Kate replied, her voice barely above a whisper. As they explored the room, Brad's attention was drawn to the mirror. He stepped closer, peering into its depths. The reflection was distorted, the edges shimmering as if something lurked just beyond the glass. "Hey, look at this," Caitlin called, holding up an old newspaper clipping she had found on one of the shelves. "It's about the town's history. It says there was a fire here years ago, and a family died in this house." The group gathered around her, their excitement shifting to unease. "Wait, what?" Ashley's eyes widened. "That's creepy." "Yeah, it says the house has been haunted ever since," Caitlin continued, her voice trembling slightly. "People say they can still hear the family's cries at night." Brad felt a chill run down his spine. "That's just a story, right? It can't be real." "Maybe," Paige said, her voice thoughtful. "But it is still kind of creepy." As they read through the article, the atmosphere grew heavier, the laughter from earlier fading into an uncomfortable silence. The weight of the past hung in the air, and Brad could feel the tension building among them. "Let's get out of here," Mary-Kate suggested, her voice shaky. "Yeah, I'm not feeling this anymore," Ashley added, glancing nervously at the mirror. "Wait," Caitlin said, her eyes still glued to the article. "There's more. It says the family was searching for something when the fire broke out. They never found it." "What do you think it was?" Brad asked, trying to lighten the mood, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. "I don't know, but it sounds like a mystery," Paige said, her. Chapter 6. The secret unveiled. The air was thick with the scent of popcorn and the faint, sweet aroma of caramel apples as Brad, Paige, Mary-Kate, Ashley, and Caitlin stood in the dimly lit hidden room of the haunted house. The flickering light of a single bulb cast eerie shadows on the walls, illuminating the dust motes that danced in the air like lost spirits. Just moments ago, they had been laughing and screaming through the haunted corridors, but now, the atmosphere shifted, charged with a sense of discovery and unease. In the previous chapter, the friends had stumbled upon this secret room, filled with old photographs and yellowed newspaper clippings that hinted at a long-lost Halloween legend haunting their town. As they peered at the artifacts, a chill ran down Brad's spine, not from fear, but from the weight of the history they were about to uncover. "Look at this," Caitlin exclaimed, her voice barely above a whisper as she held up a faded photograph. It depicted a group of children dressed in costumes from decades past, their faces painted with joy and mischief, yet there was something unsettling about their expressions, as if they were aware of a secret that had long been buried. "What do you think happened to them?" Ashley asked, her brow furrowed in concern. The excitement of the party felt like a distant memory now, overshadowed by the mystery unfolding before them. "I don't know, but it looks like they were part of some kind of ritual," Mary-Kate replied, her eyes scanning the clippings that detailed strange occurrences in the town during Halloween. These articles mention disappearances and strange sightings. It's like something out of a horror movie. Brad stepped closer, drawn to a particular newspaper clipping that caught his eye. The headline read, "The Legend of the Hollow Children. A Halloween Curse." Beneath it, the text detailed a series of events that had transpired decades ago, where children had vanished during Halloween festivities, only to reappear years later, changed and haunted. "Do you think it is real?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The thrill of the unknown sent shivers down his spine, but a part of him felt an inexplicable connection to the story. "Real or not, we need to find out more," Paige said, her determination shining through the uncertainty. "This could be a part of our town's history that we can't ignore." As they delved deeper into the clippings, the friends began to piece together a narrative that intertwined their families with the legend. Brad's heart raced as he discovered a name he recognized. His great-grandfather, a figure mentioned in the articles as a protector of the town during those dark times. "Wait, my family was involved in this," he said, his voice rising with disbelief. "Why didn't anyone ever talk about it?" "Maybe they wanted to protect us from the truth," Caitlin suggested, her eyes wide with realization. "What if there's more to this than just a legend?" The room felt smaller as the weight of their discovery settled upon them. The laughter and music from the party outside faded into the background, replaced by the pounding of their hearts and the rustle of old paper. "Let's split up and see if we can find anything else," Ashley proposed, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "There might be more clues hidden around here." As they began to search, Brad felt a knot of anxiety twist in his stomach. He had always been the one to keep things lighthearted, to make jokes and ease the tension, but now he felt the gravity of their situation. He glanced at Paige, who was examining a dusty box in the corner, her brow furrowed in concentration. There was something about the way she focused, her lips pressed together in determination, that made his heart race. "Hey, do you think this could be connected to the party?" he asked, trying to keep his voice casual as he approached her. "Like, maybe there's a reason we're all here tonight." Paige looked up, her eyes meeting his with an intensity that made him forget the chilling atmosphere. "I don't know, Brad. But if it is, we need to be careful. This could be more than just a fun night." Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken fears. Brad felt a surge of protectiveness wash over him. "Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together," he promised, his voice firm. Just then, Mary Kate called out from across the room, her voice echoing against the walls. "Guys, you need to see this." They all gathered around her, curiosity piqued. She held up a small, ornate box, its surface intricately carved with symbols that seemed to pulse with energy. "I found it hidden behind some old crates. It looks important." Brad's heart raced as he reached for the box, feeling an electric charge in the air. "What do you think is inside?" "Only one way to find out," Caitlin said, her voice a mix of excitement and apprehension. With a deep breath, Brad opened the box, revealing a collection of old trinkets, small charms, a faded map of the town, and a delicate silver locket. The locket caught the light, glimmering like a beacon in the darkness. "Look at this," Paige said, her voice barely above a whisper as she leaned closer. "It looks like it has a picture inside." Brad carefully opened the locket, revealing a faded photograph of a young girl with bright eyes and a mischievous smile. "Who is she?" he wondered aloud, feeling an inexplicable connection to the girl in the picture. "I don't know, But she looks familiar, Ashley said, squinting at the image. Maybe she's one of the Hollow children. The room fell silent as they processed the implications of their discovery. The laughter and music from the party outside felt like a distant memory, replaced by the weight of the past pressing down on them. "Guys, we need to get out of here," Mary-Kate said, her voice trembling slightly. "This is starting to feel too real." But before they could leave, the lights flickered, and a cold breeze swept through the room, sending chills down their spines. The door creaked ominously, as if inviting them to stay just a little longer. "Did you feel that?" Caitlin whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "Yeah, it is like the room doesn't want us to leave," Brad said, his heart racing. Suddenly, the sound of laughter echoed from outside, a stark contrast to the tension in the room. It was the sound of their friends, carefree and oblivious to the dark history they were uncovering. "We can't let this go," Paige said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "We need to find out the truth, even if it is scary." Brad nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "You're right. We owe it to ourselves. And to the Hollow." Chapter 7. The chase. The night air was thick with anticipation as Brad, Paige, Mary-Kate, Ashley, and Caitlin stood outside the community center, their laughter echoing against the backdrop of the Halloween festivities. Just moments ago, they had stumbled upon a hidden room in the haunted house attraction, revealing a chilling legend that had long been buried in the town's history. The photographs and newspaper clippings hinted at a mystery that connected their families to the past, igniting a spark of curiosity that was impossible to ignore. Now, with the thrill of the unknown coursing through their veins, they were determined to uncover the truth. "Are we really doing this?" Caitlin asked, her voice a mix of excitement and trepidation. She tugged nervously at the hem of her witch costume, the black fabric shimmering under the moonlight. "Of course. We can't just leave it like this," Mary-Kate replied, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "We have to find out what happened. It's Halloween. This is our night for adventure." Paige, her costume as a sultry vampire accentuating, "Who knows what we might find." Brad felt a rush of adrenaline at the thought of embarking on this quest. He had always been the one to hold back, but tonight felt different. The energy of the night, the camaraderie of his friends, and the thrill of the unknown pushed him forward. "All right, let's do it," he said, his voice steady despite the flutter of nerves in his stomach. As they ventured into the dimly lit streets of their small town, the crisp autumn air filled their lungs, mingling with the scent of fallen leaves and distant bonfires. The moon hung high above, casting an ethereal glow that illuminated their path. Shadows danced along the sidewalks, and the rustling of leaves whispered secrets that only the night could hold. "Where do we even start?" Ashley asked, her brow furrowed in concentration. She had donned a playful fairy costume, complete with glittering wings that sparkled in the moonlight. "Let's head to the old cemetery," Brad suggested, recalling the newspaper clippings that mentioned the legend's connection to the town's founding families. "It's supposed to be haunted, and it might give us some clues." The group exchanged glances, a mix of excitement and apprehension swirling among them. The cemetery. At night. Caitlin's voice trembled slightly, but the thrill of the adventure was too enticing to resist. "Come on, it'll be fun," Mary-Kate exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. "What's Halloween without a little scare?" As they made their way toward the cemetery, the atmosphere shifted. The laughter from the party faded into the distance, replaced by an eerie silence that seemed to envelop them. The only sounds were the crunch of leaves beneath their feet and the occasional rustle of branches overhead. "Do you hear that?" Paige whispered, her eyes darting around as if expecting something to leap out from the shadows. "Hear what?" Brad asked, straining to listen. The night was still, but a faint sound, a whisper, perhaps, seemed to linger just beyond their reach. "Maybe it is just the wind," Ashley suggested, though her voice lacked conviction. They reached the wrought iron, pushed them open, revealing the grave markers that jutted out of the ground like ancient sentinels. "Let's split up," Mary-Kate proposed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "We can cover more ground that way." "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Caitlin asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if we get lost?" "Just stay within earshot," Brad reassured her, though he felt a twinge of uncertainty himself. "We'll call out if we need help." Reluctantly, they agreed, and the group dispersed into the shadows, each taking a different path among the gravestones. Brad found himself drawn to a cluster of weathered markers, their inscriptions barely legible under layers of moss and thyme. He traced his fingers over the names, feeling a connection to the past that sent shivers down his spine. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the cemetery, followed by a series of frantic whispers. Brad's heart raced as he turned toward the sound, calling out, "Guys! Is everyone okay? Over here?" Paige's voice rang out, laced with urgency. He hurried toward her, his pulse quickening with each step. When he reached her, he found her standing near a toppled gravestone, her face pale. "I think I saw something," she said, her breath coming in quick bursts. It was like a shadow, but it moved so fast. "Are you sure it wasn't just a trick of the light?" Brad asked, trying to sound calm, though his own heart was pounding in his chest. "No, it was real," she insisted, her eyes wide with fear. "I swear, it was right there." Before Brad could respond, a chilling wind swept through the cemetery, rustling the leaves and sending a shiver down his spine. The atmosphere shifted, and an unsettling feeling settled over them like a heavy fog. "Guys, we should stick together," Caitlin said, her voice trembling as she joined them. "This place gives me the creeps." Just as they were about to regroup with the others, a figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in a ghostly costume that billowed around it like mist. Obscured, but the glint of eyes shone through the darkness, locking onto Brad and his friends. "Run!" Brad shouted, adrenaline surging through him as he grabbed Paige's hand, pulling her along with him. The others followed suit, their laughter and shouts turning into panicked cries as they sprinted through the cemetery, the sound of their footsteps echoing against the gravestones. The figure pursued them, its movements swift and fluid, as if it were gliding over the ground. Brad's heart raced as he glanced back, the sight of the ghostly figure sending a jolt of fear through him. "Faster!" he urged, pushing himself and Paige to run harder. They burst through the gates of the cemetery, the cool night air hitting them like a wave as they stumbled onto the street. The laughter and music from the community center felt like a distant memory, replaced by the pounding of their hearts and the rush of adrenaline. "Where do we go?" Ashley gasped, her wings flapping wildly as she struggled to keep up. "Back to the community center," Brad shouted, leading the way. "We need to get to safety." They sprinted down the street, the figure still in pursuit, its presence looming behind them like a dark cloud. The sounds of their footsteps echoed in the stillness of the night, mingling with the distant sound. Chapter 8 Confronting fears. The night air was thick with the scent of damp earth and fallen leaves, a reminder of the autumn chill that had settled over the small suburban town. The echoes of laughter and the distant thump of music from the community center faded as Brad, Paige, Mary-Kate, Ashley, and Caitlin stumbled into the clearing behind the haunted house. Their hearts raced, adrenaline still coursing through their veins from the narrow escape from the ghostly figure that had chased them through the dark corridors. "Did you see that thing?" Brad exclaimed, his voice a mix of exhilaration and disbelief. "I thought I was going to die." "More like you were going to pee your pants," Ashley teased, nudging him playfully. The tension in the air began to dissipate, replaced by the warmth of camaraderie and shared fear. Okay, I admit it. I was scared," Brad said, running a hand through his hair, trying to regain his composure. "Brad, but hey, at least you didn't trip over your own feet." As they gathered in a circle, the laughter faded, replaced by a palpable silence. The thrill of their adventure had given way to something deeper, a shared understanding that they had all faced their fears tonight. "Can we talk about what just happened?" Paige finally broke the silence, her voice steady but laced with concern. "That was intense." Mary-Kate nodded, her expression serious. "I mean, we all felt it. That wasn't just some guy in a costume. It felt real, like something out of a nightmare." "Maybe it was," Caitlin whispered, her eyes darting toward the shadows that loomed around them. "What if the legend is true? What if we're in danger? Or what if it is just a story?" Ashley countered, crossing her arms defensively. "We can't let a silly ghost scare us. We're not kids anymore." "But what if it is more than that?" Brad interjected, his voice low. "What if it is a reflection of our own fears? The things we're hiding from?" The group fell silent again, each lost in their thoughts. The night had taken a turn, and the thrill of the chase had morphed into something heavier, something that demanded honesty. "I guess we all have our own ghosts to face," Paige said softly, her gaze fixed on the ground. "I mean, I've been so focused on trying to impress everyone, especially you guys, that I've lost sight of who I really am." "Same here," Mary-Kate admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've been pretending to be someone I'm not, just to fit in. I'm tired of it." Caitlin took a deep breath, her eyes glistening in the moonlight. "I've been scared of what people think of me. I want to be brave, but sometimes it feels easier to hide." Brad felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "I've always felt like I had to be the funny guy, the one who makes everyone laugh. But inside, I'm terrified of failing, of not being good enough." Ashley shifted uncomfortably, her bravado slipping away. "I've been so focused on my grades and my future that I've forgotten how to have fun. I'm scared of disappointing my parents, of not living up to their expectations." The air grew heavy with vulnerability, each confession hanging in the air like a fragile thread connecting them. They were no longer just friends. They were a tapestry of fears and dreams, woven together by their shared experiences. "Maybe that's what the legend is trying to teach us," Brad said, his voice gaining strength. "It's not just about the ghost. It is about facing our fears and being true to ourselves. We can't let the past define us." "Yeah," Caitlin agreed, her voice firmer now. "We need to confront what scares us, not just run away." Together, Paige looked around at her friends, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I'm so glad we're all in this together. I don't want to face my fears alone anymore." "Me neither," Mary-Kate added, a smile breaking through her earlier seriousness. "Let's make a pact. No more hiding. We face whatever comes next as a team." "Deal," Ashley said, her eyes brightening with determination. We're stronger together. As they joined hands in a circle, the bond between them solidified, a promise to support one another through whatever challenges lay ahead. The night was still young, and the air crackled with a newfound energy, a sense of purpose that had been missing before. Okay, so what's next? Brad asked, his excitement bubbling back to the surface. Do we go back to the party and show everyone that we're not afraid? Or do we investigate the legend further? Caitlin suggested, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. There's got to be more to it than just a ghost story. I'm in for whatever, Ashley said, her confidence returning. Let's uncover the truth. Then it is settled, Paige declared, her voice strong. We'll face our fears head-on. Together. With renewed determination, they made their way back toward the community center, the sounds of laughter and music growing louder as they approached. The atmosphere was electric, a stark contrast to the weight of their earlier confessions. As they entered the building, the vibrant colors of the decorations and the flickering lights enveloped them, a reminder of the joy that Halloween brought. But beneath the surface, they carried the weight of their fears, ready to confront. Hey, look who's back! A voice called out, breaking through their thoughts. It was one of their classmates, a boy dressed as a vampire, his cape swirling dramatically as he approached. Did you guys get lost in the haunted house or something? Something like that, Brad replied, forcing a smile. But we're back now, and we're ready to party. As the music pulsed around them, the group found themselves swept into the crowd, their earlier fears momentarily forgotten in the excitement of the night. They danced and laughed, the energy infectious, but deep down, each of them knew that the real challenge lay ahead. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, the atmosphere shifted. The lights dimmed, and a hush fell over the crowd. A figure stepped onto the stage, silhouetted against the backdrop of flickering candles and cobwebs. Welcome, everyone, to the Halloween party of a lifetime, the figure announced, their voice booming through the speakers. Tonight, we celebrate not just the spooky, but the courage it takes to face our fears. The crowd erupted in cheers, but Brad felt a chill run down his spine. The figure's words echoed in his mind, a reminder of the pact they had made. They were about to confront something much bigger than themselves. Chapter 9 The final showdown. As the echoes of laughter and music faded into the night, the air thickened with anticipation. The Halloween party at the community center had transformed from a festive gathering into a battleground of secrets and shadows. Brad, Paige, Mary-Kate, Ashley, and Caitlin had uncovered a chilling legend that tied their families to a ghostly figure haunting the town. With the clock ticking down to midnight, they knew they had to confront this specter before the curse claimed another victim. The friends huddled together in a dimly lit corner of the community center, the vibrant decorations around them contrasting sharply with the tension that hung in the air. Brad's heart raced as he glanced at each of his friends, their faces illuminated by the flickering glow of jack-o'-lanterns. "We have to do this," he said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his insides. "If we don't confront the figure tonight, who knows what will happen?" Paige, dressed as a sultry witch, nodded, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders like a waterfall of night. "We've come this far. We can't turn back now." Her eyes sparkled with determination, but Brad could see the flicker of uncertainty behind them. Caitlin, ever the pragmatist, were up against. Mary-Kate, who had chosen to be a vampire, leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if it is not a ghost at all? What if it is someone we know?" Ashley, dressed as a playful fairy, shivered at the thought. That would be even worse. What if they're trying to hurt us? The group fell silent, the weight of their shared fears settling heavily on their shoulders. Brad took a deep breath, trying to quell the rising tide of anxiety. We need to find out who it is. If we can figure out their connection to the legend, maybe we can break the curse. The plan was simple yet fraught with danger. They would confront the figure during the climax of the party, when the energy was at its peak. The haunting music would mask their approach, and the chaos of the crowd would provide cover. But as the minutes ticked by, doubt crept in. Are we really ready for this? Caitlin asked, her voice trembling slightly. Brad stepped forward, his resolve hardening. We have to be. We can't let fear control us. We're stronger together. With a collective nod, they made their way toward the center of the dance floor, where the pulsating lights and thumping bass created an intoxicating atmosphere. The crowd swayed and twirled, oblivious to the storm brewing just beneath the surface. As they moved through the throng of costumed revelers, Brad's heart pounded in his chest. He caught glimpses of familiar faces, friends and neighbors lost in the revelry, but his focus remained on the task at hand. The ghostly figure had to be here somewhere, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. Suddenly, a chill swept through the room, causing the hairs on the back of Brad's neck to stand on end. He exchanged a glance with Paige, who looked equally unsettled. "Did you feel that?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the music. Before he could respond, a figure emerged from the crowd, cloaked in a tattered black robe that billowed like smoke. The mask obscured their face, but the aura of menace was palpable. The crowd parted as the figure glided toward. The friends instinctively formed a tight circle, their hearts racing as they prepared to confront the figure. "What do we do?" Ashley asked, her eyes wide with fear. "Stay together," Brad replied, his voice steady. "We'll approach slowly. We need to find out who it is." As they moved closer, the figure turned, and for a moment, the mask slipped, revealing a glimpse of familiar features. Brad's heart sank as recognition washed over him. "No way," he breathed. "It can't be." The figure raised a hand, and the crowd fell silent, the music fading into an eerie stillness. "You've come to confront me," the figure said, their voice distorted but unmistakably familiar. "Ryan," Caitlin gasped, stepping forward. "Is that you?" The figure hesitated, the mask shifting slightly, revealing a pair of haunted eyes. "I didn't want you to find out like this," Ryan said, his voice cracking. "But I had no choice. The legend, it is true. I'm part of it." Confusion rippled through the group. "What do you mean?" Brad demanded, stepping closer. "You're not a ghost. You're alive." Ryan lowered his head, the weight of his confession hanging heavily in the air. "I didn't know how to tell you. My family, they were involved in the original events of the legend. I thought I could protect you by keeping my distance." Paige's eyes widened in disbelief. "You've been hiding this from us all this time." "I thought it was for the best," Ryan replied, his voice filled with regret. "But the curse, it is real. And it is tied to my family. I didn't want you to get hurt." The tension in the air shifted, morphing from fear to a complex mix of anger and betrayal. "You should have trusted us," Caitlin said, her voice trembling with emotion. "We're your friends. We could have faced." Ryan's shoulders slumped, the weight of his choices evident in his posture. "I'm sorry. I thought I could break the curse on my own. But it is too powerful. I need your help." The crowd around them began to murmur, the tension palpable as the friends processed Ryan's revelation. "What do we need to do?" Paige asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil swirling within her. Ryan looked around, his eyes filled with a mix of fear and determination. "We need to confront the spirit that haunts this town. It's tied to my family's past, and if we don't face it together, it will continue to haunt us all." The friends exchanged glances, the weight of their shared history pressing down on them. "We can do this," Brad said, his Chapter 10. A new beginning. The Halloween party had been a whirlwind of laughter, frights, and unexpected revelations. After confronting the ghostly figure that turned out to be someone from their past, Brad, Paige, Mary-Kate, Ashley, Caitlin, and the rest of their friends had emerged victorious, not just in breaking the curse that had haunted their town for generations but also in forging deeper connections with one another. As they returned to the community center, the atmosphere was electric, charged with the thrill of their adventure and the warmth of newfound understanding. The community center, once a mere backdrop for their Halloween festivities, now felt like a sanctuary of shared experiences. The decorations, cobwebs, jack-o'-lanterns, and flickering lights, seemed to pulse with life, mirroring the excitement in their hearts. Laughter echoed through the hall, mingling with the haunting melodies that played softly in the background. The air was thick with the scent of caramel apples and popcorn, a nostalgic reminder of childhood Halloweens. "Can you believe we actually did it?" More like a very confused person in a sheet, Brad chuckled, still riding the high of their adventure. He glanced at Paige, who stood beside him, her cheeks flushed from the excitement. "But it was pretty epic, right?" Paige nodded, her smile brightening the dimly lit room. "Definitely. I never thought we'd uncover something so real. It's like we've become part of the town's history." Mary-Kate, who had been listening intently, chimed in, "And we did it together. I feel like we're closer now than ever." She looked around at her friends, her heart swelling with gratitude. The night had transformed them, not just as individuals but as a tight-knit group. As the music shifted to a more upbeat tempo, Ashley grabbed Caitlin's hand, pulling her toward the dance floor. "Come on, we have to celebrate. Let's show everyone how it is done." With a laugh, the girls joined the thrumming crowd, their laughter mingling with the pulsating beat of the music. Brad watched them go, a sense of warmth spreading through him. He turned to Paige, who was still standing beside him, her gaze fixed on the dance floor. "Do you want to dance?" he asked, his voice slightly hesitant. The thought of moving closer to her sent a rush of adrenaline through him. Paige's eyes flickered to his, and for a moment, the world around them faded. "I'd love to," she replied, her smile softening the edges of his nervousness. As they made their way to the dance floor, Brad felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. The energy of the party enveloped them, and he couldn't help but notice how the lights danced across Paige's face, illuminating her features in a way that made her look almost ethereal. They joined the throng of bodies swaying to the music, and Brad found himself lost in the rhythm. He moved closer to Paige, their shoulders brushing against each other, and he could feel the warmth radiating from her. The laughter and chatter around them faded into a distant hum as he focused solely on her. "Can you believe we actually faced our fears tonight?" he shouted over the music, his heart racing. Paige nodded, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It's crazy. I feel like we can do anything now." Brad's heart swelled at her words. "Yeah, air between them." Just then, the music shifted to a slower song, and the atmosphere transformed. Couples began to sway gently, and Brad felt a surge of courage. "Do you want to dance like this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Paige's cheeks flushed, but she nodded, stepping closer. As they moved together, the world around them faded even further. The warmth of her body against his sent a thrill through him, and he could feel the rhythm of her heartbeat matching his own. "I'm really glad we're friends," he said, his voice low and sincere. "I don't think I would have had the courage to face that whatever it was without you guys." Paige looked up at him, her expression softening. "Me too. I think we've all learned something important tonight. It's not just about the legend. It is about us." Brad's heart raced at her words. He wanted to tell her how much she meant to him, how he had admired her from afar for so long, but the moment felt fragile, like a delicate glass ornament that could shatter with the wrong word. As the song came to an end, they pulled away slightly, still holding hands. The moment lingered, charged with unspoken emotions. Just then, Mary-Kate and Ashley rejoined them, breathless and giggling. "Did you see the way you two were dancing?" Ashley teased, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "It was like a scene from a movie." Brad's cheeks flushed, and he shot a playful glare at Ashley. "We were just dancing." "Sure you were," Mary-Kate chimed in, a knowing smile on her face. "But it was cute. You should ask her out, Brad." The playful banter hung in the air, and Brad felt his heart race again, this time for a different reason. He glanced at Paige, who was looking at him with a mix of surprise and curiosity. The moment felt heavy, charged with the weight of possibilities. "Maybe I will," he said, trying to sound nonchalant, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. "Good. You should," Caitlin encouraged, her enthusiasm infectious. "Life's too short to hold back." As the night wore on, the group continued to celebrate their victory, sharing laughter. They danced, played games, and even participated in a costume contest, where they all cheered for each other, reveling in the camaraderie that had blossomed from their shared adventure. But as the clock ticked closer to midnight, a sense of bittersweetness began to settle in. The night was drawing to a close, and with it, the magic of Halloween. Brad found himself stealing glances at Paige, who was animatedly chatting with Ashley and Mary-Kate, her laughter ringing like music in his ears. "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" he asked, interrupting their conversation. The girls exchanged knowing looks, and Paige nodded, stepping away with him. "Everything okay?" she asked, her brow furrowing slightly. "Yeah, I just wanted to say well, tonight was amazing. I feel like we've all changed in some way." He paused, searching for the right words. "I mean, we faced something together, and it brought us closer."